All right, let's dive in. We've got a pretty sweet ride on deck today, the BMW G310RR.
Yeah, a BMW, but kind of not a typical BMW.
Exactly. It's their entry-level sports bike, but there's a twist. It's made in partnership with TVS Motor Company.
So we've got a bit of a hybrid situation, a German badge, but with some Indian engineering in the mix.
You guys sent over a ton of market analysis on this bike. We're talking reviews, specs, pricing, the whole nine yards. And our mission, to break it all down.
Yeah, figure out what this bike is all about, who it's for, and whether it's worth your hard-earned cash. Especially with those rivals breathing down its neck.
Let's kick things off under the hood. What's this thing packing?
Well, it's rocking a 312.112cc single-cylinder engine. But here's where it gets interesting. The power output actually changes depending on which riding mode you're in.
That's cool. Like a chameleon?
Kind of. In
Fine.
track and sport modes, you're looking at about 34 PS. That's metric horsepower. Pretty similar to BHP.
Got it. So that's when you want to unleash the beast.
Exactly. But in rain or urban mode, it dials things back to 25.8 PS. So a bit more manageable for those everyday situations.
Makes sense. A bit of versatility built in. And what about torque?
It follows a similar pattern, 27.3 Nm in the sportier modes, 25 in the more relaxed ones. It's liquid-cooled and runs on electronic fuel injection.
All very modern, high-tech stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And it meets the latest emission standards, both EU5 and BS6 Phase 2.
Good to know. So top speed, how fast can this thing go?
You're looking at a top speed around 160 kilometers per hour, but that's in the full power modes. It's limited in rain and urban.
Makes sense. Safety first, right?
Exactly. And speaking of safety, it boasts a pretty decent fuel economy, around 3.3 liters per 100 kilometers. So pretty easy on the wallet, too.
Gotta love that.
Mm.
All right, enough about the engine. Let's talk about the overall build. What's the G310RR like in terms of size and weight?
It's fairly compact, coming in at around 2 meters long. Seat height is 811 millimeters, might be a bit tall for some shorter riders, and it weighs in at 174 kilograms.
So not exactly a featherweight, but manageable?
Right. It uses a tubular strap frame for the chassis, which helps keep things nimble and agile.
Agility's key in a sports bike. Gotta be able to flick it around those corners.
Exactly. And speaking of flicking it around, the front suspension features those beefy upside-down forks. They offer better stiffness and control, especially during braking.
Suspension tech is always evolving. What's the rear suspension setup like?
It's got an adjustable monoshock, so riders can fine-tune it to their weight or even how much stuff they're carrying.
I like the customization aspect. No one-size-fits-all approach.
Totally. And when it comes to stopping power, you've got single disc brakes at both the front and rear. Dual-channel ABS comes standard, so you get that extra layer of safety.
ABS is a must-have these days.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the features. It's got ride-by-wire, which helps smooth out throttle response.
Always a plus. And it's got a nice bright LED headlight. Those are becoming pretty standard.
Yeah, they're pretty much the norm now. And of course, it has those 4 riding modes we talked about earlier. Rain, urban, sport, and track. Gives you a lot of flexibility.
Makes it adaptable to different riders and different riding conditions.
Exactly. And you get a digital instrument panel, so all your vital info is right there in front of you.
So speedometer, tachometer, fuel gauge, the essentials.
All that good stuff. Plus, a gear indicator and traction control for added safety.
Nice. Speaking of features, there's been some back and forth about the quick shifter. Is it standard or an optional extra?
Yeah, there seems to be some ambiguity around that. Some sources say it's standard, others say it's not. That's definitely something to clarify before you make any decisions.
Good point. Now, let's talk about what people are actually saying about this bike. What's the general consensus?
Well, people seem to really dig the looks. It's definitely got that sporty, aggressive BMW vibe going on, especially with the livery options.
Yeah, BMW always nails it with their styling. But looks aren't everything. How does it actually ride?
The handling is a big plus. People say it's super nimble and fun to carve through corners.
As a sports bike, should be. And what about that engine? Does it live up to the hype?
From what we've gathered, it definitely has some pep, especially in the higher revs. But some riders have mentioned that it can get a bit buzzy or vibey when you really push it.
A bit of a trade-off for that sporty feel, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like it. The riding position is surprisingly comfortable for some, which is nice.
That's always a plus, especially if you're doing longer rides.
Absolutely. The brakes get a thumbs up too, and people seem to appreciate all the tech that's packed in.
Sounds like it's ticking a lot of boxes. But what about the downsides? Every bike has them. What are people complaining about?
Well, the elephant in the room is the price. It's significantly more expensive than the TVS Apache RR310, which, let's be honest, is basically its twin under the skin.
So it's paying a premium for that BMW badge.
It seems that way, and some people are annoyed that it doesn't have any unique features compared to the Apache, like Bluetooth connectivity.
That's a valid point.
Yeah.
Why pay more for basically the same bike with a different logo and less tech?
Right. And on top of that, some riders have mentioned that the tires aren't as grippy as those found on some competitors. Could be a confidence issue for some.
Especially if you're pushing the bike hard. Any other gripes?
The lack of adjustable front suspension has been pointed out, which is a bit odd considering you can adjust the rear. The fuel tank is on the small side too, meaning more frequent fuel stops on longer trips.
Yeah, that could be a pain. Anything else worth mentioning?
Some people have mentioned a loud idle and a somewhat stiff clutch, but those are fairly minor complaints overall.
Okay,
Ah!
let's talk numbers. What's the damage when it comes to the price tag?
In India, it starts at around euro 0.05 lakh. We don't have exact figures for Europe or North America just yet, but based on the G310R's pricing, it's safe to say the RR will likely be a bit pricier.
Makes sense. So how does it stack up against its rivals?
The KTM RC390 is a major competitor. It's got more power, potentially better brakes and suspension, and more advanced electronics.
Sounds like a serious contender. But is there anything the G310RR has going for it?
Well, it could potentially have a lower starting price in some markets, and those riding modes are a nice touch. Plus, the claimed fuel efficiency is better than the RC390.
So a bit of a trade-off. What about the Kawasaki Ninja 300? It's been around forever.
The Ninja 300 has a more powerful engine, might have a higher top speed, and a bigger fuel tank. Plus, some say it's got a smoother engine.
So where does the G310RR shine?
Well, it's got those multiple riding modes, the digital dash, LED lighting, traction control, and better claimed fuel efficiency. Plus, it's likely going to have a lower starting price in India.
So a more modern package overall.
Exactly. The Ninja 300 is starting to show its age in terms of features and design.
Fair enough. We've talked reviews, we've talked specs, we've talked rivals. But what about the actual owners? What are they saying about living with the G310RR day to day?
The general feedback seems to echo what we've already covered. People love the looks, they love the handling, but that price difference compared to the Apache is a sore spot for many.
It's hard to ignore, especially when they're so similar mechanically.
For sure. Some owners have reported engine vibrations, particularly at higher speeds, and long ride comfort seems to be a bit hit or miss.
Any reliability issues cropping up?
There have been some reports of battery drain and stalling, but those seem to be more common with the G310R and GS models, which share the same platform.
So potentially a platform-wide issue.
Could be. Some RR-specific complaints include limited ground clearance and that stiff clutch we mentioned earlier.
And let's not forget about the pillion. How's the passenger experience?
Yeah, not so great. Most agree that the pillion seat isn't exactly built for comfort.
Not ideal for two-up riding then.
Not really.
Yeah.
Now, for those looking to personalize their ride, let's talk about accessories.
Always fun to trick out your bike. What's available for the G310RR?
Well, BMW offers official accessories for the G310R, things like different seats, luggage options, heated grips, that sort of thing.
Some creature comforts?
Exactly. And some of those might be compatible with the RR, plus there's a whole aftermarket scene for the R and GS models.
So plenty of options to customize.
And chances are a lot of the accessories made for the TVS Apache RR310 will fit the BMW as well.
Given their shared DNA, that makes sense. So let's wrap this up. What's the bottom line?
Okay, so the G310RR is a bit of a unique beast. It gets you into the BMW Motorrad family, but it comes with a bit of an asterisk.
Because it's not a purebred BMW, so to speak.
Right. It's got a lot going for it, like the styling, the handling, and that engine is no slouch. But that price premium over the Apache and those missing features...
It makes you wonder if it's worth shelling out the extra cash.
Exactly. Here's something to ponder.
Yeah.
How much does that BMW badge matter to you? Are you willing to pay a premium for it?
Especially when you could get a very similar bike for less money.
That's the million-dollar question. And another thing to think about, those dual-engine modes, are they a gimmick or a genuine benefit?
Something to research further, perhaps. Great discussion. Thanks for breaking it all down.
Anytime. It's a fascinating bike, that's for sure.
That it is. We'll catch you folks on the next deep dive. Until then, ride safe.
See you later.